Okay, it's 18:35, so we can get started right now. Just a brief overview of what we're doing here. First of all, welcome to everybody who's joined us. Once again, people who are still joining in will find us along the way. What is this info session about? So Bongo Hive AI Lab, in conjunction with the Association of Consulting Engineers, will be hosting a bootcamp for use of AI within the engineering industry, especially with built environment. We understand that a lot of our engineers and a lot of our partners in this situation, in this endeavor, want to know whether or not this is worth your time. This info session would let you know what is going to be taught on that day and whether or not it's worth the investment. So you're going to sit tight and listen to the show. So who is Bongo Hive? Bongo Hive is an innovation and technology hub that has been around since 2011. So we've been in business for 15 years. And last year we opened an AI lab that was headed by Mr. Engineer Mapalo Lukashi. And we've been working together just to build AI, teach on AI, and conduct some researches. This is not an advertisement of who Bongo Hive AI Lab is. We're going to go into greater and more detailed depths as we go into the info session. You're going to learn more about what we do and why we're a trusted partner in this event. And at this point in juncture, I'm going to hand over to Pauline. Pauline, you can take over from this point.
Thank you so much. Good evening, colleagues, fellow built environment professionals. A warm welcome once again. As introduced, my name is Pauline. I'm Pauline Peary. I'm a civil engineer and my expertise spans across the road and water sectors. I'm here today representing the Association of Consulting Engineers of Zambia. That's ACEZ as the training manager. Now, for those who may not know, and I'm hoping you do know, ACEZ has been in existence since 1966. Yes, 1966. And it exists to promote and regulate the business of consulting engineering. Now, ACEZ members offer services as trusted advisors to the general public on engineering matters, on design, supervision, engineering construction of works that are of different complexities. Now, ACEZ is also a proud member of FIDIC. That's the International Body of Consulting Engineers, which has been existing for 113 years now. I'm sure you've come across FIDIC forms of contract. Well, ACEZ is the FIDIC representative in Zambia. So for all things FIDIC, come to us. Now, as industry experts, the key part of our mission in ACEZ is to create opportunities for continuous learning and professional development because, as we all know, our industry does not stand still. We have new technology, new way of working, new client expectations, and it's constantly changing. And so, also, as consulting engineers, we pride ourselves on being experienced problem solvers, but even the best problem solvers, they need to sharpen their tools. After all, if we're still doing everything the same way we did 10 years ago, we'd probably be spending more time than necessary, just wrestling with spreadsheets, reports, repetitive tasks. And that's why ACEZ is continuously looking for opportunities to build synergies with organizations that can help us to remain technically sound, aware, commercially, and future ready. So our collaboration with Bongo Hive is one of those things. It's a reflection of that commitment. And so what we're trying to do is to combine our engineering expertise with digital innovation so that we can equip ourselves with the practical skills that will improve our efficiency and enhance our decision making and just help us to deliver even greater value to our work. So this digital skills and AI bootcamp for built environment professionals is designed with exactly that in mind. It's meant to be highly practical, hands-on, and focused on real-world applications. So today's session is just an opportunity to explore what the program will offer and why these skills matter and how they can support you in your professional growth and in this industry that is increasingly digital. So thank you for joining us. We look forward to sharing more about the bootcamp. I'll hand it over back to you, Mapalo. Muyanje.
All right, thank you so much. So, as Pauline said, we I want to claim myself as an engineer, but I haven't earned the engineering title, so I'll just leave it to you. But as she said, engineers and problem solvers, you have been around for years on end, and problem solving never ends. So at this point in juncture, I'm going to invite Mapalo Lukashi to take up the rest of the info session to tell us what this bootcamp is about and what you gain from here. And stick around to the end. There is a special surprise for everybody who sticks around to the end.
Good evening, everyone. Excited to be joining in this particular call, specifically because we are about to discuss something in the built environment space. And those of you joining, I believe most of you have got a connection or a part of this environment, whether you're an engineer, an architect, and you're a builder and you're in this space. This is about you, right? And I'm going to just share my screen shortly so that we can begin to discuss what we're looking at when it comes to the boot camp on the 16th of June, which we are hosting at Urban Hotel. And we're excited about it. And we hope you'll be as excited as we are. And something just to put out there, this is going to be no fluff meeting. What that means is that I just want us to be able to, we want us to be able to discuss the practical stuff of what we intend to do. I think we've all been in meetings where you attend and you're like, oh, okay, I felt it was just touching surface. And what we're hoping to do is not have that level of surface approach. We are really looking to be of value, and we've been doing that through different trainings. And so far, most of the trainings we've done as Bongo Hive, we've written assets as well. We've actually been able to get feedback on what that has been, and we hope this is something for you as well, and that you being in this meeting have chosen a moment for that change on your part. So allow me to share my screen. Today we're discussing a very critical topic, and this is really centered around AI and how that it's not the future, it's already here, and it can be your unfair advantage. And let that stick in, right? AI can be your unfair advantage. The users today that are beginning to adopt this technology are finding that it's one of the most consequential technologies of our time. And we've sat in different settings where we've discussed whether it's a friend or an enemy, whether it's a threat or an opportunity, whether it will take jobs and what that looks like. And those are great conversations to have. But one of the things that we're really trying to do with this bootcamp is amplify that engineer, amplify that architect, amplify that person in the built environment with AI. We love to call it, as it's put out there, AI augmentation, right? This is where, as a human being, you get paired with AI. And so it moves from artificial intelligence only to augmented intelligence, because it's human and AI intelligence together. And that makes AI amplified humans. And that's why we're really excited. And our info session today, we're looking at these digital skills that we'll be looking at, these new skills that are being formulated almost every single month and season. As AI continues to develop, we are seeing new skills emerge. We're seeing tools become more evolved, beginning to integrate co-pilots within their systems. And those are stuff that we need to understand. So without further ado, let's just look a bit and just get to know who exactly is talking to you. It's always important for us to have that uh, composition as we move forward. So I'll get started. My name is Mapalo Lukashi, and I am the head of the Bongo Hive AI Lab. And when it comes to my background, I'm an engineer with a bachelor's in geomatic engineering from the University of Zambia. And some of the amazing work that I've done across the country have spanned work within game management areas like the Cafe. I've done work within some of the embassies within the country. I can mention for, privacy reasons, because some of those work were sensitive. Those of you who might be within the geomatic space or civil space may understand some of the work of a geomatic engineer span things like setting out surveys, being able to do detail picking, being able to do cadastral surveying. That's where I also started my journey from. And I then evolved as well to be able to do something of passion, and that's working with startups, and specifically startups in the tech sector. And that's how my journey with Bongo Hive began. And I got an MBA to help me be able to provide system level guidance to these particular individuals and startups that are burning with ideas. And from there, I began to evolve, and I got my second master's in data visualization, analytics, and AI at Yeshiva University in New York, to be able to further be at the forefront of what AI looks like. And our hope is that the lessons that we've learned, and not just my individual lessons, the lessons that the ecosystem has begun to contribute to learning, including some of the research that, as the AI Lab, we've hosted. We've done the state of AI in Zambia, a very phenomenal research that's available publicly, the ecosystem AI ecosystem mapping report. Those are lessons that are contextualized to be able to meet our needs locally as Zambians, as people that want to be able to make a difference within our space. And so, speaking into that, allow me to be able to then discuss what we're looking to do when we have this boot camp. And we're also going to learn a little in this particular session, because we really want you to get a gist of what it's going to look like, and we'll expand more at the boot camp when we have a proper full day together. So there is a hard truth today, and that there's a hard truth that is there in our built environment, right? And that's that AI will not replace engineers. I believe if you're an engineer, and within the built environment, an architect, a builder, person doing work in this space, you will not be replaced, but engineers who use AI will replace those who don't, right? And what that means is that if you stay in the traditional mindset, the mindset that refuses to adapt new technologies, there's a good chance that you will begin to have a widening gap exist between the engineers using AI and the engineers that are being Luddites, people that are refusing to adopt this. And I use the word Luddite, which is the term that was founded during the time of the Industrial Revolution in Great Britain at the time. And I like to share this story because it's a very fundamental lesson in our history. They say that those who do not study history are bound to repeat its mistakes. So there was a group of people led by a man called Ladd that were so against the Industrial Revolution, and they caused rebellion within Great Britain. They went to the streets. The machines have taken our jobs, and they were destroying factories. And they got tried by the court at the time. The reason why they were against it is because the Industrial Revolution changed the way mass production was done, right? This was the age in which now we had industries being able to now create clothes at record speed. It was a consequential technology of that century. And the Luddites couldn't accept it. But after time, many people began to realize the benefits that this revolution brought. More people could afford clothing, more people could afford shoes. There's a story of a man called Toms who started the Toms brand when he went to a certain district in India that found so many people barefoot. And he went to a manufacturer and said, I have a vision for a shoe made of plastic because I've seen a market that can buy it. And because Industrial Revolution happened, they were able to mass produce plastic shoes and be able to create a brand that has gone out to be a huge shoe brand even to date. So there's a similar thing playing out right before our eyes. And sadly, there are those of us that choose to be Luddites, but I would love to believe the people on this call, the people who have committed time, as saying, look, I do not want to miss this consequential technology happening during my time. I want to understand how I can be rightly positioned to be able to make sure that I'm making the right moves within the space. And that's why it's critical to have boot camps like this. It's critical to have conversations like this, because they allow us to be able to have these discussions that are very much needed. So that being said, I want us to be able to look at some of the things that we spend our time on, right, as people within the space, things that we may be losing billable hours on every single week. And if you know anything about gains, you make gains mostly in two ways: by saving time or by making more money, right? That's your return on investment. And fortunately for us, AI is a technology that can be used to achieve these gains. So, for example, manual quantity takeoffs, right? Those should begin to be things that you begin to phase off as you grow in your career, in your space, in this particular industry, right? Because this can be time consuming activities and they're prone to human error, right? And these are things that the technology of the day is already capable of doing. And we'll look at some examples shortly. Talking about site reports and the scope of works, you draft them from scratch, a blank page. We all know how the first blank page sometimes can be daunting, and how this technology allows us, by being a creative partner, to already give us initial drafts that can get our minds engaged and for us to begin to edit and improve on, saving us maybe even up to 80% of the time. Then look at how we can do proposals written at midnight. You know that you want to get this done, you want to be able to impress a potential lead. Those are just some of the areas. Then there's also pricing and familiarness for some of the jobs. If you're like me, you've encountered situations where you just encounter this particular scope of work that you've never dealt with, and you may not have a person to ask, or they have also never dealt with a particular scope like this. So you do understand the foundational principles, for example, around being able to do a setting out survey, but at the level it is, it catches you unaware. And this technology, and I'll show you a real world example where this became a life-saving uh, moment with AI. You are able to create a solution and be able to provide a proper suited quotation within market rates and risk that margin that could lose you a contract. And as most environment individuals love to go into a solo practice sometimes, or begin to build your own firms, then you realize why it's important to not miss this. Now, an odd adject saying, one of the things that a University of Zambia student used to love saying, and those of you can relate, that the problem with a calculator is that it will always give you an answer, right? And if you've been in a math exam, I remember doing math exams in the sports hall, and those exams sometimes could be crazy hard, right? And the thing is that if you punch on the calculator, it will always give you an answer, even if the answer was wrong. If you can relate with that, if you're in the session, please go ahead in the chat and say, I definitely relate. Please just go ahead and engage with us in the chat. Like, a calculator will give you an answer, right? No matter what. So if you, for example, wanted to do 2 plus 2 and you accidentally put 2 plus 3, it will give you the answer 5, right? Or if you put in a quadratic equation, you have got a calculator that's got advanced formulas, and then you put in the wrong variables, you misunderstand the problem you're trying to solve, you will arrive at an answer, but that answer will not be correct. Now, the truth is that AI predominantly today exists also as a tool. It is a tool in the hands of the engineer, in the hands of the architect, in the hands of this particular person, and we are the ones that can guide where this tool goes and the type of output that it provides us, right? And AI being predominantly used as a tool today is very important. I will put on this particular precursor that AI is also evolving beyond the tool to what they call autonomous AI. And that's a very interesting conversation, and it's an area which is still under a lot of research because there's still a lot of things we don't understand about autonomous AI. And when I say we, I mean the world overall. And I could geek about this with you guys for the whole day because there's a really exciting research on that. But what's changing the world today right now is that this is a phenomenal tool which, when placed in the hands of people who have domain knowledge, can create great impact. So the fact that it's a tool, if you put in a vague prompt, you might get hallucinations and generic outputs. What hallucinations mean is that AI will always think of a way to give you an answer, especially if you force it. And in the African context, sometimes because there's a very little amount of data that was trained on African context, hallucinations are more high. So we actually will get into how you solve some of these things through some of the technologies that exist, right? So you will need to get into better prompting, and we'll look at that in context engineering, where you're able to provide a role, right? You tell it who you are. Look, I am a civil engineer working on a project, and I need to assess what building materials will be suitable for this skyscraper that's 10 stories high. I need to understand where to source this. You give it your role, you give it the context, and well, you give it actual detail as to the project you're working on, and that gives you a better outcome, right? And there's all those stuff that will be critical. They may seem basic initially, but they will actually grow into stuff. But let's also look at certain stuff that are more near to home as we move forward, right? So when I speak of more near to home, everything that we'll look at in the grand scheme of things will exist within these three domains of AI. When I say domains, these are the ways that AI can help you, and we expand into all the tools that we use, from using Revit to AutoCAD to whether you're using ArcGIS, QGIS, all the tools that are being used in the system. At the end of the day, these are the three areas that for engineers, AI is doing the most. One, contextual engineering. And I just spoke about this a little bit. This is where you provide a design flow of information, right? And create memory for the AI model you're using to provide you appropriate results. Then there is what is known as retrieval augmented generation, of which it may sound technical today, but we'll be able to break it down and make it simpler. So this is more essentially how you create a knowledge base of your data, your local data, and you're able to give your knowledge base to an AI model as a second brain. What this means simply is that you are able to now bring in your context, your expertise, your way of thinking into the model, so that you're able to produce or reproduce actually from your successes. So one thing that AI does, it amplifies what you already are. So if you're a phenomenal engineer already in the field, think about yourself being more than phenomenal. Whatever that looks like, you can become that. If that looks like a superhuman, that's what then you become, right? Then there's AI agents, right? This is now where the world is at, where now agents are able to work more autonomously, right? This is now tapping into that part where, yes, I talked about AI as a tool, but an agent then moves into the autonomous space within the first levels of autonomous technology, where it's now also able to make decisions and able to work out workflows without your involvement. And this can save you a lot of time. So now that we understand the three domains that we'll look at, let's look at some very important real Zambian use cases where AI is already changing the landscape. And another reason why being at the bootcamp will be critical is that you'll also be in a room full of fellow practitioners that will have stories to share, and that can change your life. So I'll speak of one particular scenario where a quotation helped save a contract. So a practicing geomatic engineer by the name of Mr. Chipenzi, so engineer Chipenzi, got a particular opportunity, right, to do a project. But this project, he's been practicing for over 15 years in the space, but it was a project that was beyond his initial scope. He'd never worked on a project at this level. And obviously it involved a lot of money, right? And so he was in a position where he couldn't really find anyone within his space who could provide the context that he needed. So I interviewed him as well because we've been doing research for this boot camp as well as also having our own stories, and asked him, so what did you do at that point? So he went into Gemini. Gemini is a AI frontier model that is built by Google, and it has a text interface, right? So he provided context to this AI model and was able to tell it, say, look, this is what this contract looks like, the opportunity, the project looks like. I'm expected to do A, B, C, D, and these are this is the location. He provided location to AI, and very critically, he gave it context to say, look, I want you to explore what my quotation looks like and build one for me within the Zambian context. So he was daring enough. He gave it all the context that he felt was necessary, and it produced for him a quotation. Now, that was the first time he did it, but he says from there he's used it very often to help him be able to gauge pricing. And these are clearly his words. He says, and so far AI hasn't steered him wrong. I believe that, because once he mentioned Gemini, Gemini is one of the models that Google is building to solve very complex problems. So it's being built for reasoning capacity, right? So they are also investing a lot in Africa to really mine African data, including local language data that they recently dropped a whole data set. So I was very sure that with Gemini, and because they've got local context through all the search engines that they have, he was more likely to get to the result. Now, some people use the wrong tools to try to get this, and they may get more varying results. They may use the wrong model. It may not be as trained on certain data as others. But this is already something that saved him time, got him a contract, and he had a deal that he was able to execute. Now, this is just one of many examples. Now let's look at also some case studies within spaces. So let's look at quantity surveyors, right? You've got a bill of quantities you need to do. You've got that you need to prepare. So how do you leverage AI? And these are stuff we want to get into detail, even in the boot camp, right? When you're looking at AI in that particular perspective, you can see how you can use AI as a digital assistant, right? To extract that material quantity and measurements from a 2D drawing, because now AI has got what you call visual capabilities. So it can be able to review a drawing and be able to use that build information modeling system, right? And be able to pull data from it, reducing that manual counting time. So whether you're doing a 2D plan analysis, you can upload that 2D PDF drawings and get instant fixture counts, area measurements, and quantity extractions. Something that I will give another example that AI worked within my field was when you're trying to get bearings of a particular site survey, right? You get coordinates first, right? And then you now need to give it a particular reference point, whether it's north, whether it's east, whether it's west. So putting this into an AI model and giving it the Excel sheet and giving it all the context, the location of the land, giving it the context of the particular reference point, all the context I would personally utilize, AI was able then to calculate the bearings, and that saved a lot of time, right? And this now, for a quantity surveyor, you can also see how that can help, right? They're also looking at live beam integrations, right? AI tools, syncing with your tools like Revit or Navisworks for real-time bill of quantity updates with design changes. This is where we look at automation as a particular function for how things get to be done. Then we're looking at quality control. And if there's any people that are curious, or we need to be very careful with quality, are people within the built environment, because some of the work we do, lives at stake. So AI can help you cross-reference specifications to proactively flag those discrepancies, missing info or duplicate items. You can use it to be able to have checks even before it goes to your client. and not just stopping at quantity surveyors. So these are some of the examples, and there's a lot more. I could only pick a few for us from our actual curriculum that we have in store for you. What about civil engineers? Where is AI playing a role today, and how can it help you? So, with the copilots that exist within AI models tools for civil engineers, you're looking at AI being able to help with things like counting materials, right? And being able to use these AI tools to bridge that gap between the technical execution and the actual cost conscious planning. So we're looking at applications in the areas of cost and design impact simulation. So you know that this is very important to understand, because whereas you have got a great design, an architect has given you a drawing, and you're the civil engineer that's on the project, how do you have that match between the cost of the materials that you choose and the actual design? And so you can instantly understand the financial implications of different structured design decisions. Think about running simulations. One of the things I love about the time when I was doing both my engineering degree and my MBA is that we looked at statistics, and we looked at the permutations and combination factor, which really looks at these different simulations, right? AI can help you run so many simulations. If you just say, okay, if I replace this with this, what is the potential impact? If I replace my reinforced steel with this, what's the impact? You can run these simulations against cost and actual impact, and this will be able to move in record time. There's a principle called Pareto principle, which deals with the 80-20. It says that sometimes 80% of the biggest impact in our lives comes from 20% of the things that we do. AI is making that even truer today. You can spend 20% of the previous time that you used to use doing a task and get even 80% more value through this technology. And you're also looking at stuff like resilient budgeting, where you can predict future material price volatility, labor shortages for accurate and robust budgets. If you're doing a project across many years, it's a huge project. How do you now have that resilient budgeting that will allow you to account for all those changes? So whereas that mathematics can easily get complicated for us as human beings and tedious, right? With AI, if we provide it with the right context, the right sources, and we're able to provide the right direction for it. Remember the context engineering, it can build resilient budgeting across the project in different stages of that project. We're looking at how you're able to have your project management be done seamlessly, right? Where you're able to find the most efficient pathway without having to do all those manual calculations. You understand how to manage your staff, manage the resources. You're looking at this particular tool being able to help you do that, right? Then talking about real world scenario testing, right? You can test models and construction scenarios and concepts completions using this particular BIM platforms and digital twins. And something that we'll get into is how you can actually build your digital twin from both an administrative perspective and an operational perspective. And if you notice, these examples I'm giving border between both administrative ways that AI can help you save time, because sometimes we actually spend 80% doing administrative tasks and only the 20% is true engineering work, right? And if you can have a tool that can minimize a lot of that and also come and help you with the operational tasks, that's a no-brainer, right? And if we're looking at other examples, let's get to see the electrical engineers. How can you utilize this technology more efficiently, right? And be able to move past traditional workflows. You're looking at how you can also work with automated takeoffs, right? Count outlets. So you have your electrical drawings, you know what you want to do, and you already be able to count outlets, estimate outlets that you might be able to place within your drawing for the particular building, because you might be limited in thinking through, okay, where exactly or how many outlets should this building have? AI can help you understand that. Or if you're an engineer on an electrical engineer on a project, okay, you are already being able to understand quickly what that project looks like, whether you come in midway, you're quickly able to be brought up to speed. We talk about fixtures, panels, conduit runs, what that looks like. You're able to be on top of the game. Then talk about cutting with acceleration. You don't have to take too long. There are already tools like Countfair that reduces take of time on large projects from days to mere hours, right? And then there's also smart BIM integrations, right? And how that tools like Augmenta automate electrical routing and layouts within BIM platforms, generating designs based on project specifications. So these are ways you use, and with these are ways you can use AI within already existing tools, and AI is built into it. But when we look at all these beautiful examples, there's something that comes to light as well. And I'll also speak into what that looks like for architects on the call, right? So, and I'll talk about the frontier models and how that's different from these specialized tools. So if architects, obviously, some of the work that exists today and already being utilized through AI is live cost feedback, right? You're able to use the copilots to have real-time cost feedback within these tools as an architect, right? You're able to do dynamic design iterations. So you've got one design iteration, and trust me, with the newer models by GPT, OpenAI's GPT, their ability to be able to help you have quick iterations of the already existing designs is amazing. And these models are being built into wrappers within our existing tools, and we're able to see what a particular change on a particular design will look like, and what that, and you're able to have different perspectives, right? So you have that particular lesson that you get to have as you do your iterations. You're looking at optimized material choices, test design options to find the most cost effective. And now in the world of green technology, we're looking at carbon efficient solutions, right? You're able to also use things like deep learn, whether within tools like ArcGIS, where there's a deep learn component, or where you're using deep research in these frontier models like Claude, or so like Gemini, for example, and ChatGPT. You're able to even look at some of the current pretailing prices for some of these things in your assessment. Then also enhance team alignment, right? You can build real-time data, that fosters better communication and alignment among you and other particular people that you're working on, the engineers on the team, the quantity surveyors on the team. So with this said, wouldn't you be happy to come and then just look at these things in detail and be able to understand from different perspectives? Because we will also have open room for open discussions to be able to then go into deeper spaces. We're also looking to prepare. We've added some very good resources for you that you can actually go and dig deep into some of these tools and what some of the top people in the field are using those tools for, right? And with that said, the administrative work is also critical. So in general, all that I've been able to talk about right now include context engineering, you being able to know exactly how to give AI that role, that context, that task, that format, AI quotations, and we'll be able to do practical exercises for that. AI quotations, tenders and proposals, increase your BD efforts as a firm and an organization, and you can learn as an executive or the person within this firm and go and execute this rapid fire approach. Then you're looking at how these AI models are already existing in tools today, and we want to look at case-by-case examples for some of the tools like ArcGIS, AutoCAD, Revit. You're talking about technical report writing at speed, because now AI can do technical reports for you. AI through tools like Claude that's built for work can really help you build your technical documents really quick and upholding those standards. Document intelligence, you're now entering the space of actually building custom tools that can work with you, and you're talking about being able to also query your massive library of PDFs, or you have been collecting all these different geodatabases for years, and you want to make use of them. That's all available for you to understand. And also building your own personal AI stack to make your life much easier, right? And combining them for maximum output and minimum overhead. So those are stuff that we want to look at. So from the smart perspective to the technical components, those are stuff that we deal with. And just something that I will mention is that we also want to prepare a balance between how you understand these frontier models like Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, and Perplexity, versus also the AI models existing within the tools that we use every single day, whether it's ArcGIS that you're using, whether you're using AutoCAD, and all the different add-ons that exist within that particular BIM platform. So you can begin to pick whether you want to go into utilizing Claude, for the most part, which is great for things like being able to put that environment impact report, scope of works, contracts, and all that scenarios, ChatGPT, and understand what is best for those calculations, see the models within chat that are very useful for more complex tasks and things like that, where Gemini is important because now Gemini can access your entire Google Workspace. So it can refer to your past project and bring context. So if you've got repeat clients, you're able to build on the project you started with them. Whether you're working in the industrialization zone on a solar farm project like one that I'm working on, or you're doing some exciting work elsewhere, you have that context right at your fingertips. You don't have to manually go look for a particular line that you want to include as you're moving forward to defend also how you use the money. AI can help you with all that, right? Then Perplexity is a tool that's built on ensuring that everything is cited. Essentially, it has got probably the least hallucinations when it comes to most tools, and so exploring what that tool may do for you as a frontier tool out there, that would be critical. So with all these things said and our conversation on return on investment, right, let's try to do a quick mental math here of why this might be important for you not to miss, right? If it would take you, for example, uh, saving at least 3 hours of the time that you use on site reports. So if part of your work is documentation and reporting, and you have to report to your clients exactly what was done. If AI just saved you 3 hours, and it can save you way more than 3 hours, right? Let's keep that in mind. Then if for quotations, if it just saved you 2 hours of your work, the proposals, reviewing a tender, one of the things we love to do in our Bongo Life sometimes is we see tenders, and you know how tenders are, they'll have a bunch of stuff put out, right? AI can help you quickly review how you're aligned with a particular tender, how you are matched for it, where you lack, and if you need to form a consortia, if you need to call your friend Mr. Engineer Chiwe to come because he's more experienced in that field and has done a couple of projects with the different ministries, and you know that if you bring him on board, you have a stronger tender. 2 hours saved. Keep that in mind. Then research, right? Trying to understand how the space is evolving, where the government is investing money in construction, right? Because you can now take the you can take the yearly budget and be able to say, which one is my portion here, right? The government has announced its budget. So how can I benefit? How do I structure? So you're able to do research, you're able to see where their interests are and what you want to focus on. So now if in that particular week, right, minimal hours saved, say it's 8 hours, and let's say that your consulting rate was well, I put a very low rate. Some people, the rate is about $250, $350 an hour, whatever that looks like. You're looking at all these savings translating, and at the minimum rate, that's like 134,000 kwacha saved. But what more if your rate is higher? You're looking at that being maybe even 1 million kwacha saved by just utilizing AI and what that does for you. And what you're actually buying here, right? By coming for this training, the value, if just to put a number to it, by an expert-led AI training for a full day would be 8,000 kwacha plus, right? We're looking at context engineering and prompt frameworks. If you look at what that costs out there, is over 3,000. Getting built environment specific AI workflows, because we want you to go away with actual workflows that you can begin to implement. Those are worth more than 4,000 kwacha. And some of the resources we've been building at the Bongo Life AI Lab in now over a year of existence, which is way more than 2,000 kwacha. You're looking at intrinsic value on this food, they've just been worth over 7,500. But that's not what we're charging for that training. This training is only being charged 5,000 kwacha, right, for a standard, and the only standard ticket, actually the only ticket type is standard really for this boot camp. So you're already seeing how you might save so much already if you come in and you gain. But that's not all, right? So something that we decided to do is that we actually have a flash promotion that's running for just about under 24 hours. It really unlocked at 5 p.m. today and it's ending at 5 p.m. tomorrow. So where we're giving a select few of you that are able to lock in your seat between now and 5 p.m. tomorrow, you're able to save 500 kwacha on your ticket. So that means that you pay 4.5. So as long as you do it between now and 5 p.m. tomorrow, the ticket price comes down to only 4,500 kwacha. Remind you, this is going to be at the Apan Hotel. This is also food inclusive. This is a food day workshop. You have to come with your machine, your laptop. We'll have internet at the facility. We want you to be hands-on. And how you go about paying is simple. So if you want to lock in this deal, make sure that you're able to text ahead of time on the number on the screen to say, hey, lock me in for the promo. I'll make my payment by tomorrow 5 p.m. And you can do that even now on this whilst the school is happening. Send Amwila to say, hey, I'm going to lock in my flash promotion, right? Or you can go to the Association of Consulting Engineers Bank. All these details are available on the poster, the main poster for the built environment registration, which is available on both our SES site and Bongo Hive Facebook and social media pages. You can go ahead and make your 4-5 payment as long as it's within now and 5 p.m. tomorrow. Listen, this will not exist after 5 p.m. tomorrow. After 5 p.m. tomorrow, we're back to 4-5. And we stopped taking payments for this training on Friday this week, which I believe is the 12th of June. That's the last day to actually make your payment. So we want to ensure that by 12th June we're secured, and those are the people we're going to be with on the 16th of June. So that's if you want to come and learn all these particular strategies and see how that will help you, make sure you cash in. If I were you, I'll make sure I'll cash in on this once in a while opportunity, get that 500 kwacha saving. Perhaps it goes towards your transportation, and be there and be present. So we're going to open up for Q&A before obviously we conclude our webinar in the next 10 minutes. I hope this has been useful information. If you have got areas that you need clarification, now is the best time you can put questions within the chat. And maybe our tech is also able to help potentially with audio questions. That maybe that's something we could also do. But if you're able to type your questions, feel free to do it. And please go ahead and just feel free. This is something for us to learn together and grow. So Moya, if you can help me and Pauline just to see if there are questions coming in. And if you've got any comments, feel free to drop them in the comment section as well. We're looking at those. And we look forward to you attending the session with us. This is the first of its kind. And as members of ASES, this is going to definitely help you build your growth within the space. And as you're putting in those questions, I think something that comes to mind for me is how sometimes we've missed certain technologies that existed because we were too late to the party. Someone says that when you arrive at the time that everyone else already now knows where this gold deposit is, then you're arriving too late, right? So you want to be early within this. And right now, there's still just the top 1% using AI professionally. And you might want to get into that top 1% early on and come in and get a well-curated lesson for this particular space as a built environment. So if you have a question, feel free to raise your hand, feel free to drop in the chat section. Let's be able to respond to you as well and just provide any context. Whether it's a question on the training, and an area that you need clarity on, feel free to ask your questions. We're going to have questions for the next 8 minutes now. So we'll keep this call open for any questions that you may have. Again, I'll repeat, for payments, we do have a 24-hour promo running between now and 5 p.m. Details available on the screen as well as on the poster, the main poster that you may have registered for. So if you make your payment between now and then, you'll be able to make that saving. If you make it by Friday, you can still cash in that 5,000. And we look forward to having you on the session. Make sure you come with a computer. Make sure that you come ready to learn. Be ready for the resources that will provide you as well, so that you can be able to go and just begin to use these techniques. Come ready with questions for us to be able to resolve a lot of those. So it looks like maybe the types that I'm told that the chats may have been disabled. So maybe if the tech team can look at fixing that for us. I'm also going to check on my end if I'm able to double check.
We have a question here.
Who are the trainers? That's a great question. So Bongo F AI Lab is leading this training. So I will be one of the trainers at the particular boot camp. We also want to see if there's any room to potentially bring a few couple of players that have advanced that might be able to share their story. Some of them may not be in person. They might just share it with us, and we'll share how they're using AI for you to also benefit from. But right now, I'm going to be the lead trainer on the particular day. So for those of you wondering why, you can ask questions. There's a Q&A section there. You can just go ahead and be able to ask. Great. So Dina, I was muted. Sorry. So we're looking at a full day training. So those of you that are showing up and already made your payments, we're excited to look forward to that day with you. And those of you that will be making your payments between now and 5 p.m., go ahead and just lock that in. And those of you that will be making payments, remember that the deadline is set for this Friday for you to lock it in and be part of this training. And if you have any things that you feel you would love covered at that particular boot camp that you feel may be more in line with your area, please feel free to reach out to us and make it known, and we may see how we can facilitate your additional requests as well. Great. With that said, I'll hand over to Muyanje just to begin to close us up for the meeting. Thank you once more for being part of this call. We hope that some of your questions that you had prior to joining this session have been answered. We look forward to looking at what AI does for you within existing tools, as well as what AI does for you with the frontier models. I mean, it's insane what tools like Claude can do. You can build skills that are built on you. You can build an AI digital twin that essentially will learn how you do your work and make your work much faster. And for all that important information and us to really dig into those topics, we will have that moment dedicated at the Urban Hotel. So over to you, Muyanje, for us begin to wrap up for this session.
All right, thank you so much for that, Mapalo. This has been very insightful, especially the part where we talk about how the engineers who join us at the Urban Hotel will go away with personalized automations, or at least the knowledge on how to make one, because the cost of making one in this day and age is astronomical. And just to close up our webinar tonight, just want to thank you, all of you, for coming to this webinar. Don't forget to sign up between now and tomorrow to get your discount and unlock that discount. And for everyone who has already paid, we look forward to seeing you on the 16th of June at the Urban Hotel. And everybody else, thank you so much. And allow me at this point in juncture just to close off the webinar. Thank you for coming to the Insight session. Have a good night, everyone.